I'm here to announce very quickly that we have reached the $500,000 mark in raising money towards that facility. And you might ask, why church? Come on. Is basketball religion in this state or not? And I gotta be careful. I better say almost a religion. I'll have every minister in the state wanting at me. And this will be the cathedral of high school basketball. And it's not going to be your father's museum. As Ken said, it's going to be the cultural, technological, historical view of high school basketball and the history of the state of Kentucky, because they are intertwined with integration, with women's basket, women's sports, women's rights, and a lot of in eastern Kentucky and the coal. It's all together in one. But where do you go? We're going to go to Elizabethtown is where we're going to go. And we are thrilled, as Mayor Edna had pointed out, they have arranged, in less than 7 months, we raised $500,000 in pledges and money. We have gotten, the city has been so kind to offer us this property in historic downtown Elizabethtown, the city of surprises. And the biggest surprise at first is going to be this: it is not going to be a static museum. But thanks to people in Elizabethtown, we have two major gifts to announce today. One is the Swope family, and the other is Sicilian Bank. But not just the people in Elizabethtown, it's the people around the state. We have another major gift to announce in Tom and Jack Conway. You might know him, he's the state attorney general. And they're behind us, along with people in the horse racing industry, Brereton Jones and Seth Hancock. And those are the kind of people that are stepping up because they know what's right. Again, over $500,000. We have the property. We're pretty close to a naming opportunity. And this is a reality where 3 months ago, again, it was a gleam in his eye. Thank you.
And now the main event, the introduction of the KHS Kentucky High School Basketball Hall of Fame class of 2014. Our first inductee from Sacred Heart in Louisville, Coach Bunny Dougherty. Coach Dougherty is deceased. I will tell you a couple of quick stories though. In doing the video about her, I interviewed Judge Judy Berkman, who is a player on her team that won the 1976 Women's State Tournament. I think it was probably the second one, is that right? And Judge Berkman said, we had no plays. We had no plays. We were so embarrassed when we got to Richmond because every other team had plays they were running. We had no plays. But she said that made it impossible to scout, because we'd come down the floor and our point guard would hold up 2 and we'd do something. Next time she'd come down, she'd hold up 2 again and we'd do something completely different. She also told a story about they were leading the game by a point going into the final minute, and they knew Coach Dougherty was philosophically against holding the ball. She felt like you ought to keep playing, but the players felt like that they needed to hold the ball. So they agreed on the floor that when they brought it up, they weren't going to look at the bench. And they didn't. They didn't look at the bench, and they held the ball and they won the game. So I told them, thank God you won the game, because somebody would have been in big trouble after that. But Coach Bunny Dougherty of Sacred Heart in Louisville, our first member of the class of 2014. Secondly, from Paris High School in Paris, Kentucky, Beth Wilkerson. A Kentucky Miss Basketball in 1979, Beth was also recognized as a first-team parade All-American. She was selected by the state sports writers as Kentucky's Female Athlete of the Year, a member of the Kentucky-Indiana All-Star Team, and a recipient of the National Hertz #1 award. She scored over 1,600 career points and was a member of the KHSAA state tournament teams of 1977, 1978, and 1979. Beth Wilkerson. And for the media, we're going to have a Q&A session after everybody is introduced. From Southern High School in Louisville, Kentucky, Lisa Harrison. Lisa could not be with us this morning because she's playing basketball overseas. Scoring a tournament total of 98 points, Lisa led her Southern High School Trojans to the KHSAA State Championship in 1988. She also was named the tournament's most valuable player. In addition to being named Kentucky's Miss Basketball in 1989, she was also named the Converse, Kenny Davis, Converse, buddy, huh? The Converse, Gatorade, Naismith, and USA Player of the Year. For 2 years, Lisa was named as part of the Parade All-American team. Lisa Harrison. Crystal Kelly, the second member of the class from Sacred Heart in Louisville. She is now an assistant coach at Bellarmine. She's probably out recruiting, I would think. A two-time Gatorade Player of the Year, Crystal was part of the Sacred Heart KHSAA State Championship teams of 2002, 2003, and 2004. In 2004, she was named Associated Press Player of the Year and an All-American by the Women's Basketball Coaches Association, Street and Smith, and Parade. In addition to selection on all state teams, Crystal was named Miss Kentucky Basketball in 2004. In her career, she scored 2,377 points and had 1,478 rebounds. Crystal Kelly. And now this is where it starts to get good for me. We finally got a man from Henry Clay in this Hall of Fame, my alma mater. He came to Henry Clay as Elmer Baldy Gilb's assistant my senior year, and my senior year. And after the next season's team, when Henry Clay went to the state tournament in '62, became the head coach, Coach Al Pruitt. As a player and then as the coach, his home was always at Henry Clay High. His coaching career record of wins and losses was 654-237. The Blue Devil teams made 8 KHSAA Sweet 16 appearances, earning a state title in 1983 in a classic game with Carlisle County. I don't know why I didn't go to that game, but I listened to it at home on the radio. And as soon as Henry Clay won the state championship, I immediately was speed dialing all of my high school classmates who thought I was probably a little drunk, and you know what? I might well have been. Coach Pruitt's legendary career was capped off with the Henry Clay Gym being named in his honor and his induction into the KHSAA Hall of Fame in 1996. Coach Al Pruitt. Our next inductee could not be with us because he has a team in this year's Sweet 16, a team that's going to be very competitive for the state championship. From Pleasure Ridge Park High School in Louisville, Coach Dale Mabry. In 1981, Coach Mabry began his head coaching career. For the last 32 years, he has been at one place, and that is PRP. This year, he reached a milestone of 800 plus wins, a mark that only about 50 coaches in the United States have attained. His Pleasure Ridge Park teams have made 12 KHSAA state tournament appearances with a state championship in 1989. Coach Mabry has produced numerous all-state players that went on to star at the collegiate level. Coach Dale Mabry. Another favorite of mine, and I know, Wayne, a favorite of yours. From Hartford High School, John Oldham. A basketball star at high school, Johnny led the Hartford Mustangs to the 1941 and 42 KHSA, I gotta just say state tournament. Boys State Tournament basketball tournaments. His performance led him to be named to the 1942 All-Tournament team and the Kentucky-Indiana All-Star team. His high school career led him to become a star player at Western Kentucky University, where he returned as the head coach, succeeding the legendary Uncle Ed Diddle, and he coached the Hilltoppers to the 1971 Final Four, where they lost, wasn't it Jacksonville? Did Jacksonville beat Western? Yeah, I think it was Jacksonville beat Western. But he's been just such a great contributor as both a high school player, college coach, college player, and one of the really nicest guys that you'll ever meet, Coach John Oldham. Al, don't tell Vernon this, okay, but last week I went over to the regional tournament in Frankfurt. Lafayette had us down by 6 points with 39 seconds to go. We won! Our next inductee is from Lafayette High School. And I must tell you that one of my all-time favorite college teams that I've covered was the Fiddlin' Five in 1958. Won Coach Rupp his last national championship. I followed that team closely. I would get out behind the garage in my house, had a dirt court back there, and I took turns. One day I was Johnny Cox, shooting those big looping hook shots and the one-hand jumpers, and the next day I was Vernon Hatton, shooting those two-handers from way outside. And of course, in that year, 57-58, Vernon hit a shot from, was it behind midcourt or just this side of midcourt?
All the way down to the other free throw line.
All the way down to the other free throw line to help Kentucky defeat Temple in overtime. But he helped, Vernon played at Lafayette for Coach Ralph Carlisle. He helped lead the Generals to the state championship in 1953. He was named to the all-tournament team and received high school All-American honors. Named to the all-state teams in both 1953 and 54, and then, as I said, did go to UK and was one of the stalwarts of that great team that defeated Elgin Baylor in Seattle in the championship game of '58. Played a little bit in the pros and then came home to become an auctioneer, among other things. But one of Kentucky's true legends from Lafayette High School, Mr. Vernon Hatton. 60 years ago this season, the University of Kentucky had its only unbeaten team. 1953-54 team went 25-0. They earned the SEC's automatic bid into the NCAA tournament. But there are 3 star players could not play because at that they were fifth-year students, graduate students, and at that time graduate students could not play in the NCAA tournament. The team took a vote, and those 3 guys were Cliff Hagan, who's already been inducted in the Hall of Fame, Frank Ramsey, and Lou Seropoulos. The team took a vote to go without their 3 best players. When Coach Rupp heard about that, he said, "I'm not going to any NCAA tournament with a bunch of turds like you." And they didn't go. So that team was 25-0. They were declared national champions by the Helms Foundation, and the NCAA champion that year was LaSalle, which this team beat. Kentucky beat by 13 points in December. So I think had they gone with all their players, Kentucky would have had yet another national championship. But one of the stalwarts of that team for Madisonville High School was Frank Ramsey. A fierce competitor, Frank led his Madisonville High Maroons to consecutive KHSAA state tournament appearances in 1948 and 49. He was also named to the All-State tournament team both in 48 and 49. He went on to have a legendary career at the University of Kentucky and then went on to the Boston Celtics, where he played for Coach Red Auerbach and became known as really the guy who kind of invented the role of the sixth man, the guy that came off the bench at crucial times to really give the team a boost. Frank has been retired for a number of years. He still lives down at Madisonville. He's been in the banking business, so I'm sure, Mike, if we need a loan, we can go down and see Frank, huh? But the great Frank Ramsey. Some of these players from the 40s and 50s really have become legends, almost myths, because you didn't have the video, you didn't have the tape available, so you really had to see them play. And their reputation spread across the Commonwealth, not only through the Courier-Journal, but by word of mouth. And one of those guys from Central City High School was Corky Withrow. Corky led Central City to 3 consecutive Sweet 16 appearances, 1954, 55, and 56. During his high school career, he scored over 3,100 points. He was named first team All-American by Dell Magazine in 1956 and a member of several All-Star teams, including the Kentucky All-Stars. A 4-year starter at Central City High, Corky was also named twice to the KHSAA All-Tournament team, and I think, Kenny, didn't he go on to Georgetown? Did he have the scoring record that you broke? He didn't, but you do hold that scoring record. I thought so, okay. From Central City High School, Corky Withrow. Another legend from Louisville Central High School, Ron King. The Central High School Yellow Jackets in 1969 became the first historically black high school to win the state championship. And led by Ron King and his good buddy Otto Petty, they had one of the highest powered offenses ever seen in the state, averaging around 100 points a game. Ron was an incredible shooter in the state championship game. He broke Cliff Hagan's record by scoring 44 points against Ohio County. He later went on to play for Coach Hugh Durham at Florida State. And in 1972, Coach Adolph Rupp's last game at the University of Kentucky, they were playing for a bid in the Final Four, and they were defeated by a Florida State team led by Ron King and Otto Petty. Representing Louisville Central High School, the great Ron King. I was interviewing Ron for the video here a couple of weeks ago, and I think Ron's doing some work now at a community center in Louisville, and he said he was telling some of the young men up there, he said, "You guys think you can play ball? I could get 4 other old-timers, and I could come in, we could beat you right now." Now, we couldn't play you full court. We couldn't run with you. But you know why we'd beat you? Because we know the fundamentals, and we know how to shoot. Right? And I think I can think of some college teams around here that need to know more about fundamentals and shooting. Not to mention, I'm not going to get no controversy. Ron King. Okay, and now another guy that again falls into that heading of almost a myth, because just the tape, the evidence of how good he was doesn't really exist. but he led Seneca High School to the state championship in 1963 with his teammate Wes Unseld. A three-time All-State performer, Mike Redd led his Seneca team to the KHSAA Sweet 16 title in 1963. He averaged 26.5 points a game during his senior year with his silky smooth style of play. Being selected as part of the all-tournament team, Mike was also named Kentucky's Mr. Basketball in 1963 and was recognized as a member of the Parade All-American team. And you know, some people, when they talk about Mike Redd, they say he was Michael Jordan before Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan. Representing the 63 Seneca High School team, Mike's teammate, John Fleischaker. Now, you know, Jack Givens has always been one of my favorite players. Very smart player until I learned from Coach Al Pruitt that he really could have gone to Henry Clay to play for Coach Pruitt, and instead he went to Bryan Station. Jack, man, you and James playing together? Still one of the most iconic players ever produced in the state of Kentucky. Jack was named to the All-State team in 1972, 73, and 74. He was recognized as a high school All-American. He was part of the Bryan Station team that made 2 trips to the state tournament and was named Kentucky's Mr. Basketball in 1974. He became a Lexington legend at the University of Kentucky, which he led to the 1978 NCAA championship by scoring 41 points against the Duke Blue Devils. Mr. Jack the Goose Givens. Three more to go from Owensboro High School. I don't know how we ever let him get away to LSU, but we did. Kenny Higgs was recognized as a recognized high school All-American and received all-state recognition in 1972, 73, and 74. He made the all-state tournament team in 1972 as he helped lead his Owensboro team to the state high school championship, scoring 28 points in the championship game. From Owensboro High School, Kenny Higgs. From Virgie High School in eastern Kentucky, Todd May led his Virgie High School basketball team to the state tournament in 1981 and 82. He was named to the All-State tournament team both years, most valuable player in 1982, and named a member of the high school All-American team. During his high school career, Todd scored more than 2,500 points with more than 1,400 rebounds. In his senior year alone, he scored an average of 38 points a game and had 16 rebounds a game to go with it. To cap off his outstanding playing career, he was named Kentucky's Mr. Basketball in 1982. Representing Todd May with us today is his coach, Chuck Dameron. And finally, and this is one that just makes me cry every time I think about him because he should have been here playing for the Big Blue. From Mason County High School in Maysville, Kentucky, Chris Lofton scored 252 points in 10 state tournament games in 2003 and 2004. And he made a record 17 three-pointers. That can't be right. 17 three-pointers? In the 2003 state tournament has kept him at the top of the record books. Helping his Royals to the KHSAA state championship in 2003, he was also named the tournament's most valuable player. He scored 2,763 points in his high school career, was named Kentucky's Mr. Basketball in 2004, and also was named the Gatorade Player of the Year and Associated Press Player of the Year. And of course, he played his college ball at down the road, where unfortunately he came back to haunt the Wildcats many times with his great outside shooting. From Mason County High School, Mr. Chris Lofton. Representing Chris, his nephew, Curtis Jackson. Curtis? That's our class for the year 2014. Let's have a big round of applause. And now, questions. Anybody from the media, anybody who wants to ask a question of these legendary players, please feel free. They want to get one-on-one? You all rather do one-on-ones? Okay, I guess now we have door prizes. Is that right, Kenny? That's right. Okay.
By the way, if you didn't get a parking pass and parked in the lot over across from Rupp Arena, we still have some for you so that you don't have to pay going out. Some people, when you go in, they don't take any money, but going out, they like to collect. So we do have some extra ones there. What we do, we give the media first shot on these questions. By the way, Wayne Martin's here with us. I didn't check you out, Wayne. Good to see you again. And he's working with us on our Hall of Fame, too. He represented last year Letcher Norton at some of our events, and Linville Puckett. Is Linville here today? He said he's going to be here. He's selling beer cheese again on me. He's out selling that beer cheese. But anyway, these questions are for the media first. Somebody from the media gets the first shot, but then after that, anybody can answer them. And there's a $25 Rafferty's gift card for the correct answer. Now, these questions are not your run-of-the-mill questions, like who did this and who did that. You'll have to think a little bit, and I'll have to repeat it probably twice.
For the media.
Media? Well, I don't know about, well, okay. Yeah, remedial media, right. First of all, the first question, and see me after we get finished to get your prize when you win. This bird flew high over the bluegrass. This bird flew high over the bluegrass. These are about people that are going in this year, inductees this year. This bird flew high over the bluegrass. Media, anybody? Anybody? Go. We got anybody in the media? Right. Who is it? Who said that? Well, Gina Goose Gibbons is correct. Gina from TV station in Elizabethtown. No, well, she's got a. She researches all these people, so she's got a little bit of a.
The goose.
The goose.
The bird.
The goose. The bird. Fly. Oh, now you got to think again. Now, all of these questions refer to the inductees. All right. And I got this question the other day when I called his house. I thought about this question. He operated from his Louisville castle. He operated from his Louisville castle. Well, wait a minute, people. We got to have the media get the first shot at this. It's already said, who said first over there, though?
I said it. I don't think first.
That's correct. It's Ron King. And when I called Ron the other day, and his wife was there, she said on the answer machine that this is a queen, the king is not home. Okay. His scoring exploits in high school in 1957 were overshadowed by King Kelly Coleman. Who is this? Media first. Media first. His scoring exploits were overshadowed by the scoring of King Kelly Coleman. He averaged darn near what Kelly did in 57. Who is that? Now, hold up your hand. We can't all say it at one time. Now, anybody else? Open it up to everybody. Who is it? Hold your hand up if you know. Anybody got a hand up?
I have a hand up.
Got to have a hand up. No.
Oh.
Corky Withrow.
Corky Withrow is correct. Matter of fact, on his picture over here, on his collage, you'll see him and Kelly Coleman together in that picture. And they had a wonderful relationship. All right, she jumped around Louisville athletics in athletics and basketball for 40 years. She jumped around. That would be Bunny Darty. That's correct. That's correct. His royalty was well recognized across Kentucky in basketball. His royalty. Now that's a pretty... Chris Lofton is correct. Who hit that one? There you go, Chris Lofton, that's right. He was the Royals, Mason County Royals. A Kentucky high school basketball star, he became a Bayou Bengal. Who said that one? I thought I heard Jack's voice first, but who else said it? Kenny. Well, you can't say yourself. It was Kenny Higgs who went to, I'll tell you a little story on Kenny before I leave. I was at the University of Kentucky, the grad assistant, and I got to go to South Carolina to scout. And Kenny Higgs was playing in his freshman year at LSU, and they played in the first game of the tournament in South Carolina. And I was sitting beside a legendary guy that coached at Cincinnati, that later on became a pro scout, Ed Jucker, I think it was his name. And yeah, we were sitting there and we're watching the game, and I'm scouting the game and so forth, and Kenny gets 43 points as a freshman. And Ed looked over and he said, in front of you, you have who you're representing. He said, are you a University of Kentucky person? I said, well, I'm a graduate assistant. I'm here scouting this game. He said, isn't Kenny Higgs, I see in the program, from Owensboro? He said, isn't that in Kentucky? I said, yes, it's in Kentucky. He said, well, why didn't you all take him? And I said, I don't know. Of course, I caught, I didn't know because I didn't make those decisions. But Kenny had 43 points as a freshman, and he's really, how would you like to have, just think about this, this is how many great players we produced in this state. And it just hit me tonight. How would you like to have as two guards, Kenny Higgs and Chris Lofton? I mean, hello, and they went outside of the state, and we produced numerous people, not only that played at Kentucky, but Louisville, but outside the state that went on to great things.
This Ed Jucker that you were talking about, this pro scout, he won 2 national championships at Cincinnati.
At Cincinnati. Was
runner-up to Loyola in 1963 and recruited a fellow named Oscar Robertson.
Well, he might have known talent, I would say. So those are some of the questions, and if you want a prize, please see me afterwards. Thank everyone for being here. It's great to see you guys, and that story about Al told about Jack Gibbons, that's one that we can all dream about if that would have happened, because he would have had 4 state championships.
That does it for us. Thank you all for being here. Please come to the induction ceremony in Elizabethtown on July the 12th. Thank you for your support of our High School Basketball Hall of Fame. And if anybody would like to interview any of the inductees, please feel free. Thank you so much for being here.